Good evening. Welcome to the Fitchburg Municipal Airport Commission meeting, April 26, 2022. Time is 6:02.
Rich, January the 26th.
January the 26th, 2020. What did I say?
You said April.
Wishful thinking, I guess, you know. Allow me to introduce the airport commissioners. To my far right, David Genesi, myself, Clayton Raymond, chair. My left is Richard Liberatore, and to his left is Beth
Walsh.
Sorry. Peter Kettle, airport manager. To my far right, Mayor Di Natale, and persons in attendance, others, I should say, Matt Karen and Jackie Marks of Gale Associates, Deb Silva, airport assistant manager, and Mark Estabrook from FACT Condominium Trust. So let's get started. Previous month's minutes approval, looking for a motion to approve, and if there's any comments, and to see if anyone has had a chance to review.
Motion to approve?
I can second that.
Vote, please. Approve.
Aye.
Thank you. Item 1, action items. Action items from previous month's minutes. No placeholders there, but I think we're going to go over those when we hit old business.
The majority are covered.
The majority are covered? Yeah, okay. Item 2, correspondence to the commission. I didn't receive anything. Mr. Kettle?
Well, the only thing we had was a couple of emails from Dave Murphy, from one of the pilots on FACT,
Okay.
which I believe you've all seen.
Is that in tonight's agenda?
It is, because it's item 1, snow clearing on new business.
Okay. Item 3, Gail, review of ongoing work. Go ahead.
I'll jump in. Thank you. Good evening, members of the Airport Commission. I am thrilled to report that this evening, for the runway reconstruction project, that all of the grounding work has been completed. The grounding system is meeting the FAA's requirements, and we received confirmation from both FAA and MassDOT that we can begin to close that project out. Nick is not with us this evening, but he did inform me that he's preparing the grant closeout paperwork as we speak, and he'll be sending that off for signature. I assume it's going to go via DocuSign. Mr. Chairman, you've received DocuSign documents from us before. Really simple. You can go on and just sign in the appropriate spots, and then that project will officially be closed out and off of the books.
I should expect that this week, you're
You should be
saying?
expecting that. I don't know if it'll be by the end of this week, but you'll be expecting it definitely, I would say, by next week.
All right, thank you, yep.
Yep.
Any comments?
Questions on that?
Could I make a comment?
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
go ahead, Peter.
I'd just like to thank Gale Associates for an excellent job in managing this massive construction project that really is going to benefit the airport moving forward. So thank you.
We appreciate all your help as well, Peter and Deb and everyone else on the commission. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll let Jackie jump in on the master plan.
Sure, thank you. So since we last met in December, if you recall, the commission approved Gale Associates to forward chapters 1 through 4 of the master plan to FAA and MassDOT. So MassDOT, FAA reviewed the plan, provided some feedback, and ultimately FAA on the 13th of this month approved the forecast of the master plan, allowing us to move into subsequent chapters, so facility requirements, which is what we will be discussing via the presentation this evening. So I'll go over my update and then I'll jump in on the presentation and just take any questions as we go along. I'll try to keep it kind of moving a little bit quickly, so stop me at any point if you have any questions. So after we complete the review of facility requirements, we can then move into Chapter 6, which is the development and evaluation of alternatives, and that's going to be to basically evaluate ways that the airport can implement any of the recommended improvements that result from Chapter 5. So I will just jump, I guess, onto the presentation portion. And again, just stop me if you have any questions. Apologies here. Okay, so I'll keep it moving quickly. We're going to go over purpose and objectives of Chapter 5, then we're going to go actually over facility requirements, recommendations. Questions and comments, but just stop me at any point. We'll go over the next steps of the master plan process, and then we'll repeat, where the master plan chapters will be made available to the public for anyone interested in viewing them. So what facility requirements is going to do is in Chapter 2, we presented all of the different facilities on the airfield and did an inventory, identified the different sizes and standards and things related to those, the conditions, all that was documented in Chapter 2. And so now in this chapter, basically, what you'll see in the subsequent slides are recommendations for improvements that are needed. So anything that isn't specifically noted, just routine maintenance is always the recommendation there. Moving into your runway capacity and conditions, so you'll see I just have it listed pretty simply here as adequate or inadequate as we move through. I don't know why this keeps flashing here, but we'll just go with it. So essentially most of the items related to the runway, which is brand new, are more than adequate for the airport through the planning period. The one item that we wanted to note in this section was for the airport to continue finding a resolution to restricted airspace 4102 A and B, and then, just letting the commission know that the FAA Flight Procedures expects to publish the new approach procedures for the airport by March 24th of this year. And at that time, what Gil intends to do is go back, review what the published approaches actually are, and then make some more recommendations from there. So we're, kind of trying to get, I guess, a jump start on the process by looking at all of the different facilities on the airport, but this will be one outstanding item that we'll have to look at once that time comes. So moving on to the approach departure standards. So as you recall, the airport, Gil had a subconsultant go and do an aerial survey of the different approach paths at the airport. And we did discover, we're still working with Flight Procedures and with our subconsultant, but there were some obstructions identified in the approach paths to runway 32 and also to runway 14. Most of them are vegetative obstructions that presumably have kind of popped up since the obstruction removal project initially took place. But we're, again, working with Flight Procedures and working with our subconsultant kind of behind the scenes to just flesh all that out. And as soon as we have some more answers on, locations and we're able to make better recommendations, we will certainly do that and update this chapter accordingly. But I didn't want to allow that to kind of hold us back from addressing other things that might need to be discussed. So I figured we could just leave that as an outstanding item for now. Does anyone have any questions so far? Okay, so your taxiway, taxi lanes, the newly constructed pavements, obviously in good condition. You do have some taxiways and taxi lanes, hangar taxi lanes that are definitely aging, and you'll see in the next slide that some of them are in fair condition to poor condition and even into failed condition, and we'll get into that here. So you can just see, I'll let that pop up for a minute. Ooh, that's Apologies for the, I'm not sure what's going on with that, but as you can see, runway, parallel taxiway pavements, all in good condition. I don't think there are any surprises here as far as, the different pavement conditions of your apron that's, on the CIP that's scheduled for improvements. You have taxi lanes that could, definitely use to be rehabilitated, and that is, of course, the recommendation that as funding permits, that the airport pursue, rehabilitating these pavements as funding becomes available. So just to keep moving on, your apron capacity, we did an evaluation of the number of apron spaces that you currently have versus how many you are anticipated to have through the end of the planning period, so the next 20 years. And we actually discovered there's a surplus of tie-down spaces, which is a good thing because that allows the airport, if other facilities, if you need to construct other facilities in certain areas, it allows for the removal of some pavement and potentially, developing these areas to be put to better use in those spots. So you have, again, pavement conditions, as you saw in the last slide. You have, we're listing these as inadequate here just because those are in need of repair. So your apron and your helipad are both in need of repair. So, of course, recommendation is repair as funding permits. Moving on, navigational and approach aids. Almost everything is in adequate working condition. The only reason I ticked off inadequate on the taxiway light category here is because I know that there are still some incandescent lights that are running along the taxiway Echo Northeast and the unnamed taxiway. And so the recommendation here is going to be to, of course, replace as funding permits with LED lights. Administration building, condition we've listed as adequate. It's in, fairly new condition. Capacity, again, the only reason I have ticked off inadequate here is that I know that the airport has a desire for an airfield restaurant, and there just is not space within that building to accommodate that type of facility. So only reason capacity has been checked as inadequate is for that reason. Anyone have any questions so far? If you're disagreeing with anything, nobody knows the airport better than all of you. So if there's anything that we're missing or we should be considering, please just stop me at any point.
Just one quick question.
Sure.
These approaches that we're waiting to be published in the 24th of March,
Yes.
is this a result from the new runway? Is that why, we've been waiting since the runway was completed, or is this something new?
It's as a result of the runway reconstruction, yes. So Flight Procedures has done a flight check and obstruction check, and basically they will make determinations of the airport's new visibility and minimums based on a whole host of different things that they're still working on right now.
So the approaches we have now are from the old runway?
Yeah, those are
Yeah.
old. Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions about that? Okay. Keep it moving on. Hangar buildings. So we all know that's probably one of the biggest needs and priorities of the airport is more hangar space. So I won't dwell on this slide. We all know that that is a need. Getting into miscellaneous facilities, so you have your miscellaneous building number 6. I know that that is being used as storage at this time. It's been brought to my attention that there may be some environmental issues going on there, and that we're recommending, if that building is to be used for other purposes or, considered to be taken down or removed, that an environmental consultant come in and conduct an evaluation is what we're recommending. So then automobile parking capacity. The parking lot is, as far as I know, fairly adequate at this time for the existing services that are being offered. However, with the caveat of bringing that airport restaurant in, we know that there will be a significant demand for additional parking. So that's really why we're recommending an expansion of the parking spaces. Getting into snow removal equipment and just support equipment. So you have snow removal equipment building, as far as I know, it is adequate. and meeting the needs of the airport at this time. If anything to the contrary, I would welcome that information. Fencing, we know that there have been some wildlife issues and things of that nature in the past, so we're recommending installing full perimeter fence along the airport's southerly side near the Nashua River to mitigate some of those wildlife hazards from happening. And then we're also recommending working with the city to install, I know that people have been going through the fence on Crawford Street and there's been a lot of damage. So of course recommending that work with the city to see what is reasonable, guardrails, jersey barriers, rumble strips, something to prevent that from happening. And then we get into your maintenance equipment, and that is just going to be, I know with the snow removal equipment, the maintenance equipment, some of those items are aging, so just, get those things on the radar and start replacing them as funding permits.
One question, John.
Yes.
Do we have a choice as to whether we pave the ramps or do the fence, or do we have to do them in a certain order?
It's really based on the airport commission's priorities and what you feel is most important to get done. We can certainly, when we get into the schedule of improvements, we'll start to have discussions about what the commission's priorities are and the timing for some of these things. So are they short-term requirements? Are they short-term projects in the next 5 years? Is it a 10-year out project, or is it a really pie in the sky future project, that is for an out year, beyond 10 years?
Okay, thank you.
Can I just comment too
Of
real
course.
quickly? Just keeping in mind that the CIP, the Capital Improvement Program for the airport, all these projects that become your wish list, and you go in every single year, you meet with the FAA and Mass DOT. So to the extent that the FAA has discretionary funding available for, let's say your priority project is perimeter fencing, to the extent that they have discretionary funding available to provide to Fitchburg for funding assistance, that also comes into play as well. So if next year you were looking to redo the fence, but that's not on FAA's priority list, if you will, until 2023, you may desire to take on another project like an apron project in advance of the fencing project. But every single year, those conversations get fleshed out with the agencies. So your CIP changes on an annual basis as well.
Okay,
That makes sense.
thank you.
I thought the FAA made fencing of a municipal airport a priority, that you had to maintain that
Yeah.
all around. I know we have nothing in the back on the riverside, and then the one that's on Airport Road, Crawford Street,
Yeah.
it's pretty much a joke. I mean, it's very frustrating every time I go into Lummester. I'll go down there, and you can see where the fences have been breached, and it's always falling on the laps of our DPW to fix that, and there has to be a final solution to that. But I thought that when you reach out to the FAA, especially for funding, priority for your security of the airport was,
Yeah, there's
number
no
one
doubt
issue.
that fencing is a priority. I believe it ranks really high in terms of FAA projects. One of the things that the commission, I believe, is going to be undertaking in fiscal year 2022 is the environmental assessment and a wildlife hazard assessment. That wildlife hazard assessment will actually help support and justify the need for full perimeter fencing around the airport to keep wildlife out, because it does represent a safety hazard for, obviously, aircraft, departing and arriving.
we had a deer issue. Is that still,
Oh, yeah,
still?
it's still there. About 2 weeks ago, we had 24, a herd of 24.
God
Yeah,
bless the
deer,
little
deer,
hearts.
fox, coyotes. I guess there was even a moose at one point in time. I'm reading in the document too. So, it's no surprise. I mean, there's the Nashua River is right there. That's a
Yeah.
food source
Yep.
for wildlife. So makes
Yeah,
sense.
and again, when you get into that wildlife hazard assessment, they document everything in great detail of, what they're seeing, and they actually, at the end of the document, will make recommendations for, mitigating some of these wildlife hazards, and fencing is, I've never seen fencing not included in a recommendation for wildlife hazard assessment, so
Right.
that will just support that further. Any other questions on the support facilities? this was just my question slide. So just to kind of get into your next steps, so like I said before, we're going to go into your development and evaluation of alternatives. I was hoping this evening to take just a couple of minutes with the commission to review the different projects. I know I've spoken with a few of you, and we have, kind of talked about some priorities and different projects that the airport would like to see on the ultimate airport layout plan, but just making sure that we're ticking all those boxes and that there's nothing that we're overlooking as far as, once we dive into this evaluation, what we really should be looking at. So once we finish up, I'll ask, for everyone's recommendations and input on that. So once we complete the development and evaluation of alternatives, we will, of course, give a public presentation on those alternatives, at which time we will request that the commission vote on the preferred development concepts that will ultimately go on to the airport layout plan and be submitted to the FAA. So from there, once the projects are selected, we can go into the schedule of improvements, and that's where, as I was saying before, you start to identify the timing for these things. And, again, as Matt was saying, based on funding availability, based on airport priorities, all sorts of things that we can discuss at that time, what is going to go into that schedule. There is one required chapter that the FAA likes you to have in the master plan, and that's an airport recycling summary. It's basically a review of waste management practices at the airport and a comparison to how that fits into the overall municipal waste management program. Then, of course, you have your airport layout plan. That is a graphical representation of all the proposed airport facilities, all of your environmental conditions, your approaches, land use plans. Those things go into a series of documents and give a visual representation of the airport. So then we'll finally present the ALP, chapters 7 and 8, and then we'll be getting into actually closing the project out and getting that ALP approved and closing the project out. Does anyone have questions so far?
Got one. The closeout, we still targeting a June-ish date?
We're hoping to move into alternatives at the February meeting, then move into your schedule at the March meeting, and kind of month by month, move kind of in that fashion through the next chapter. So maybe even sooner than June would be the goal.
We're looking to move this along as quickly as it suits your needs. I mean, if at any point you need us to slow down and go back and take a look at something, we're happy to do so, but the plan is to keep the process moving as quickly as possible, close it out, start shifting gears, looking at fiscal year 2022. There may be a need for an environmental assessment in that wildlife hazard management plan that I was talking about. Those are things that the FAA is going to be looking to see how far along have we gotten with the master plan before they commit to funding that. So we're trying to move this along pretty quickly just to keep all of your projects in your CIP on track.
Okay, so after we're done Chapter 8 and we close this out, do we submit the entire plan to the FAA and then they can sit on it for 30 days, or?
No, so FAA, what they approve the forecast, which they've already done.
Okay.
And then they actually do have to approve the airport layout plan. But as far as input throughout the rest of the physical master plan document itself, that's really just, we send it out to them so that they can give their feedback, see if there are any red flags from a state perspective,
Okay.
an FAA perspective, just so everybody gets, all hands on deck and everybody's part of the process.
Right.
And, but that really, they don't need to approve any of those
Yeah.
final chapters. We have the approval of that chapter 4, so that's
As we're
really
moving
what-
along, yeah. Thank you.
And I guess just as a little disclaimer, when we get into selecting preferred alternatives, just want to make it known that just because the airport commission elects to, vote in favor of a preferred alternative, that is not committing the airport, the city, the state, or the FAA to funding these projects. It's basically just your grand wish list. So I guess just to make it known that every year, as Matt was saying before, you have your CIP meeting, and at that time, you really evaluate every year on a year-by-year basis what your priorities are. Have we anticipated demand that has come to fruition sooner than we expected, and there's a need that is more immediate, and then we would bump a project maybe up on the CIP, or, you know, the verse of that would be you have a project that doesn't come to fruition quite as quickly as you thought, and you might defer that improvement to a later date. So again, on a year-by-year basis, those things are considered. Any other questions? Great. So just as a reminder, this is the link where all of the current chapters 1 through 4 are available for public comment. Once we receive all commission feedback on Chapter 5, we will provide a copy of that. It will be a draft final Chapter 5 for posting on the website, and subsequent chapters will be uploaded there where as the process goes along. So the public has the opportunity to view the chapters, to comment on the chapters. If there are any questions throughout, we would be more than happy to, you know, assist the airport in answering those as they come in. Any questions about anything at all?
So are you still waiting for comment from the commission on Chapter 5?
It would really be any comments that result from tonight's meeting. And then, of course, if you think of anything after the meeting and there's a
Yeah.
question that comes up, you know, tomorrow or next week, you know, but any time really, feel free to shoot an email, give me a call. I'm open to any input or conversations or discussions. We're still, as I said, kind of working through the approach obstructions. So there's still a little bit of time for us to finalize what's going on with that and the recommendations. So we could certainly take, you know, take any other feedback that you have.
Okay, so I would encourage the commissioners, Peter, to respond to input on Chapter 5. Even if you think it's in left field, just write it down, because you never know what can come of it. So, appreciate it. Peter?
Already done.
Yes, thank you.
I guess if there are no other questions on the master plan, I just had a couple of other quick items related to it. So I was hoping the commission would vote this approve Gail basically to forward Chapter 5 as it is now in draft format to FAA and Mass DOT, just for their input, just so that they can be, again, like I said, part of the process and give any input that they might have at this stage. And then, of course, we'll update everybody once those obstruction analysis items are complete.
Yeah, I'm okay with making a motion to forward that. We can still amend it or change it in any way?
Yes.
After, yeah?
Yes.
I would motion to go ahead and do that.
Second.
Vote, please.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Was that quick enough?
Yes.
Okay.
And then the other item I had was I just wanted to quickly go over the projects that we're going to start exploring through the alternatives analysis. I have a list of items that we've kind of started looking at, but of course want to take everybody's input. If there's anything else that you feel needs to be added to this list, please let me know so that we can start looking at it. So the items I have are, and keep in mind, these are not repairs to existing facilities. This is construction of new facilities on the airfield as evaluated through the alternatives analysis. So you have, we have hangar taxi lanes to service new hangars. We have the new hangar buildings, both corporate and recreational. We have designation of a non-aeronautical, a piece of land for non-aeronautical use. We have perimeter fencing. We have and then a restaurant with the on-site parking. Are there any other items that anyone wanted to? I know, Rich, you had floated some ideas to me, and I didn't know if anyone had any other input or things that they would like to see us explore through the alternatives evaluation.
Anyone?
as you guys think about them, perhaps they can email them to you, Jackie, and call you as well?
Yep, that would be perfectly
Not to
fine.
put everyone on the spot tonight, so if it
Yep.
comes up and
Yeah.
you think of stuff, then feel
I'm
free to
sure
send
a
them
few of
over.
us have already responded, but, yeah,
Perfect.
thanks for asking.
Well, that is all I have for this evening. I think Matt is going to give a little bit of an update on the ASMP, and then we'll be,
Yep, real quickly, thank you all for your patience. So the installation of the backup generator capable of powering the entire airport. Mass DOT approved Gale's scope of work. The IFE documents were sent to Owen Silba at Mass DOT, who's going to be performing the IFE. Upon finalizing the contract, Gale will begin preparing bid documents for the procurement action of the generator. The lead time on generators reported by Gale's electrical engineers approximately 52 weeks from order to delivery. This may require separate grants for ASMP, one this year and one for next year. Modifications to the fuel tank system to allow for bottom loading use using the airport's refueling truck. And Peter, I saw some email correspondence, so correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. But we're capable of assisting the Airport Commission with the grant application once Titan Fuel provides the cost for modifications needed to the airport's refueler truck. We have hanging door replacements number 2 and number 4. There's no Gale update this evening on those, but Peter, you may have your update, so I'll defer for now then.
Thank you. Just one comment, Matt.
Please.
Yeah,
I
go
don't believe the standby generator is going to power the whole airport. I think it's going to power the main buildings,
Yep.
and also with the exception of the self-serve fuel farm.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. What are we waiting for?
Item 3 and 4 is also ASMP grant, but there are no updates at this time, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Hang door replacement.
That is correct, on the roof replacement.
Are you all, Gail is done?
All set.
Thank you. Pittsburgh Pilots Association, any correspondence or update, Peter?
Not really, but we have gone ahead with getting the Pilots Association to talk to the Ford V8 Club, and they both agreed to the 2 days that I did forward to everybody in, I think it's April, the 28th? In April, yeah. And they've accepted the charges that we're applying, and the caveat there was, with the mayor and the people in the city council, was that at the moment, we've just put in a brand new, well, we've given license to the COVID testing station to go at the end of runway 20. And that will have to be moved prior to the April Ford V8 and the Pilots Association event. So I actually got confirmation from everybody that's involved in this that they will all help to move everything out for the 2 days and then put it all back again for the Monday morning, so nothing's really disturbed. So that's good cooperation between the city and the airport and Pilots Association and the Ford V8 Club. So
Good.
thank you.
That's good. All right, on to new business. Item 1 is snow clearing. Peter, you have some correspondence, and I think Mark wants to speak on
I do.
behalf of
I'll go
FACTS.
first, Mark. Is that all right? Okay. As you all know, the weekend before last, we had a considerable amount of snow, and the weather in a lot of places was not just normal weather. I can be contradicted on this, of course, that's why I'm sitting here. But we had the guys starting at 7 in the morning. We did the runways, which is our first objective to satisfy the grant assured FAA grants. Runways and taxiways were done. Then the businesses were done. And then we moved on to the FACT hangars. Now, they worked on it after about 5 o'clock, 2.5 hours, and everything just warmed up, and the snow turned to slush. So if you imagine a boat going down a river The water comes off either side, it goes up the banks and it comes back again. That's exactly what was happening in between the main hangars between 14, 15, 16, 17 and 18. We have 3 channels there that the snow went up and came down. And I was called at 7:30 that night by the lead lineman, and he said, Peter, we just can't move it. I said, well, Terry, I said, go home then. I said, you've been here 12 and a half hours, go home. And they went home. Well, immediately after they went home at about midnight, the temperature went down to 2 degrees. So that 3 inches of slurry within the hangars turned into solid ice. So the next day we couldn't move. We moved what we could, but then we got the letter from Mr. Murphy, and I responded to Mr. Murphy. And, you know, I mean, we can't control the weather. And I know Mark Estabrook's here to try and get us to decide on a better approach to cleaning the FACT hangars. But the principle still applies that we have to follow that procedure that's identified by the FAA. Now, in between what we've done so far and the previous situation with all the ice down there, we managed to find a company called Zenith. And Zenith make a biodegradable product, non-salty, that will not attack the aircraft. And it says it's been approved by the FAA for runway control, and it's called Winter Warrior Runway Control. I contacted the company and asked for some samples. And they said, okay, we'll get you some samples. Well, they went through every single one of their distributors plus their manufacturer in North America, and there's not one bag available in North America. They're on a boat coming from China. So we don't know when that's going to come, but they did manage to find us 20 bags of samples. And I got an email from UPS, and they said that they're going to arrive on February the 2nd. Well, with this weekend storm coming as well, and I'd just like you all to look at the 2 photographs. And Mark, I think I've got one for you if you want it. It actually shows, well, I took these at 5 o'clock tonight. Okay? And if you have a look, there's just 2 areas, and those 2 areas haven't moved because of people driving their trucks down and putting the compressed ice down into the ground. Our snowplow comes up to it, it rides up this really compressed ice and won't clear it. So I think we should try and put some form of description out to everybody, asking them, like the mayor does, sending out an email to everybody saying, don't park on the streets between this time and this time, and give us a chance to clear it. So I don't think that helped at all, because everywhere else is now clear, and which is good news. So just to let you know, this winter runway control, Winter Warrior runway control, it's $102 a bag, and there's 42 bags on a pallet, so it's just over $4,000. Now, when we get this, I already discussed it with Mark, we're going to decide where you want to put it to try it out, all right? And then once we see how good it is, then we'll get some in stock. We'll actually make money available to do this because it's important. We want to help everybody on the airport. We're not trying to avoid anything. So I just want to make that clear. Okay, Mark, to you.
Thank you, Peter. Mark Estabrook.
Right, Mark Estabrook, Acton, Massachusetts. I'm the president of the FACT and a T-hangar owner, and I own an aircraft that fly out of Fitchburg. Been there for a few years. So thank you for your time tonight. I appreciate it. And let me just make some notes. So Peter talked about the storm. Thank you. I want to acknowledge the efforts that Peter and his team have made. I want to be clear, since that storm, since the freeze that we had, which has not prevented access entirely, but it's made it difficult for our owners and renters to get in and out of those aircraft. Peter's and his staff have helped people in and out. We're trying to get this de-icer going. You've tried a number of things. We've tried a number of things like heating up the taxiways. So, you know, the airport's been a good partner in trying to mitigate what's a challenging situation for us. So I do want to acknowledge and say we appreciate that. Our view remains that it really shouldn't have happened in the first place. I appreciate it was a difficult storm, but I want to make note that none of the other hangars, none of the other businesses, the parking areas, we were the only ones who were not plowed out by the end of that day. I understand the comments about slush, but nonetheless, no one else seems to have suffered from that problem. Peter, we talked afterwards. You have an email You talk about didn't have enough people, one person was still being trained. You mentioned that a plow was still not, was broken. So there needs to be sufficient staffing and sufficient personnel in order to get the plowing done. Also, Peter, you noted that we're on that list of 4 priorities. I don't think anybody would argue with the runway or the taxiway. But with regards to the business, we have a lease with the airport, and it's a non-discriminatory clause around plowing and weeding. We shouldn't be at a disadvantage to other businesses on the field. We also have businesses that are ongoing, obviously not the majority of what we have going on, but there are people who have charters. There are people who do leasebacks to the flight school that depend on that income that goes back to FCA flight school. So we do have interest there, and we have the lease that supports us. So I'm here because I'd like to be clear that we don't think it should have happened in the first place. It should have been plowed before the freeze over happened, and we want to work with you to prevent that from happening in the future. I'm not looking to bang a drum. I don't have any comments on Dave Murphy's emails. Peter and I work pretty well together. I just want to figure out how we're going to prevent it from happening again.
Mark, thank you for coming here tonight. Appreciate it. So if I hear you correctly, had we had more staffing or another vehicle, we may have been able to get this cleared prior to 7 o'clock at night or not?
But can I just make one comment?
Yes.
The only place in the whole airport where we have the physical structures placed as they are is in the FACT hangars. Every part that's being cleared has a front opening where it can be pushed out. Here, we don't, because when we went down the sides, like we do, as you know, 3 feet from the hangar, we push it into the middle, it just came straight back again. There's nowhere else on the airfield that's like that, because there's an open space where it will move to. But in the hangars we have, it just goes up and comes straight back again. But we will work and we will get it right, Mark. So whatever comments the commission wants to make, I'm here to listen and learn and help.
I want to be careful though, Peter. It's hard to say on the one hand that we'll get it done next time, but on the other hand say it wasn't our fault because it was slushy and it just couldn't have been done. There was no way to accomplish the plowing. And I don't know how we get to the bottom of that one. At least our members don't share the opinion that it couldn't be plowed.
I believe this is the answer.
I don't know what I'm looking at, sorry.
This is that Zenith product. I believe that's the answer. Because apparently what it does, it actually creates holes down into the ice, and as it goes down, it breaks it up.
Yep.
So it allows the plow to go in and just push it out the way.
Yep.
So this is a really good start, I believe.
Yeah, we haven't tried it yet, so
Right,
it
no.
may very well be. I don't
Right,
know.
right.
We'd have to give it a try. It's pretty thick ice.
Right, it is.
I mean, I've tried this stuff at home, and not with this product, obviously.
Well, they said 6 inches.
Yes, I know. But
So-
I don't know if you've tried it as well, but
Yeah.
you can't see I'm laughing under the mask. I've done this at home where you sprinkle this stuff on and it sort of does and sort of doesn't.
Right.
So I don't know. But, you've said it before. We need to test it and see what it does. We don't know yet.
So I have a question, Mr. Testabrook. Is this, how often is this every snowstorm you're finding this to be the issue? Or is this recent?
This is quite exceptional. So the north-facing hangars that we have, because they don't get direct sunlight, will often have some leftover ice and snow. It's annoying, but it's not preventing people from getting in and out of the hangar. You need to be careful because you can slip. That's always going to be a problem on the north-facing hangars. So that's typical in a storm. This was entirely different. This was almost 6-inch ice in spots and throughout half the taxiway. So it's not just a small section in front of the T hangars. It's actually halfway to through the taxiway from the south to north facing hangars. It was not possible for people to get their aircraft in and out, period. Peter had his team helping people bump it over the ice and get it in and out. One guy came out and broke up the ice so he could get his plane out, which was a challenge in and of itself. So this was exceptional.
Okay.
But it is, people have lost use of their hangars for basically, when I say lost use, I should be careful. Peter's been very helpful helping people get planes in and out. But their typical access to the hangar's been blocked for about a week.
Thank you.
May I just comment on that as well? I had hangar 21 for 10 years, and hangar 21 was a north-facing hangar, and at least twice a year I got build-up of ice in front of my hangar because the water drains straight down, comes down, hits the ground, and the ice just builds up. And I've had a pickaxe in there trying to get it out. So it is it's not, I can't say it's a normal attitude because it's not, because it doesn't happen all the time. Yeah. I mean, we had a nice snow this last week. We had 2 inches. It was cleared and open completely by 2 o'clock.
Yeah, this was
2 o'clock.
challenging because it was slush and it was wet and then it was a freeze. And the ice that you're talking about, we're responsible for the first 3 feet of that space in front of our hangar regardless. So that does happen, absolutely. But that's not about the plowing issue. Again, it was a significant portion of the taxiway that's taken up, and we couldn't get planes in and out without some kind of assistance.
And Mark, there is a solution to it. I suggested it to the FACT about 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You put mirrors on the opposing hangars, facing down onto that area that freezes up. In Spain, they have parabolic mirrors that point down and they create electricity from it through steam. They've got boilers. I mean, the sun's intensity is amazing. And I honestly think that's something we should look at, just putting up mirrors on the other side, facing down into that area, because you're going to get the same heat from that as what the sun's giving the doors where we don't have a problem.
Right. So I'm not saying no to anything at this point.
Right.
Sure, we can talk
I
about
mean,
things,
maybe
but-
we could get somebody in to have a look and,
But the easiest, quickest solution is to plow that stuff out.
it is, if we can.
I have another concern, a $4,000 pallet of ice. Who pays for that? Do we pay for that?
Well, I honestly,
I'm sorry.
we get $12,600 a year for the snow clearing and the weed control. And I honestly believe that I wouldn't think it unreasonable that we share that cost. I mean, that's something that we would put to FACT.
Yeah, we can certainly, I've only had one, so I put an email out to all the members, said who would like to get any of these bags. I've only had one response so far.
But the whole thing is, let's try it. Let's see how good it is.
Yeah.
And then make the
So
decision.
that's where we're at the point of where we need to
Absolutely.
try to see if it actually works. Right?
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Is anyone else would like to comment?
No, I would like to commend Peter on actually finding an alternative that
Yeah,
could be very useful
yeah.
and beneficial.
So can I just get clarity on the point, though, of priority of plowing? So I made the assertion that in our lease, we should not be discriminated in terms of the order of plowing. Can we agree on that? We're not to be treated any differently than any other business on the field or any other hangars on the field, facilities?
Well, I believe from memory, and Debbie, you can correct me on this, I believe there is not allowed to be any businesses in any FACT hangar. I believe on your contract with us and the FAA that that's the case. I don't know if you remember that, Attorney
I don't know,
Pusateri?
but I was thinking it's 72 hours for snow removal?
It is.
Okay, so we're well within our contractual obligation.
Oh, we were, but I mean, it,
I don't know where we're
So
taking
it's all right.
everybody's time to discuss this at this
yeah.
point.
And Mr. Murphy, my God, something needs to be done to rectify this unfair and targeted mismanagement?
Yeah, and
A little bit of hyperbole there, isn't there?
I don't want to comment on David's,
And where is Mr. Murphy?
I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
But again, I draw your attention to Section 8.3, snow plowing and weed control. The removal of snow and ice from all paved surfaces on the premises in a non-discriminatory manner as to timing and so as to permit the same to be used for customary flight operations within a reasonable period of time after the accumulation of same. So the snow comes down, the ice comes down. If it's not removed fairly quickly, temperatures drop, it can freeze. It's not a reasonable amount of time if it's left to freeze overnight.
But what I just heard was they were running the plows in the fact area
Yeah.
over and over again, and the slush was, this is what Peter described to me.
Sure.
And I see him as an honest broker. It was going out, and it was sliding back in. I mean, we're not going to stay there all night long chasing the slush around. At some point in time, we make a reasonable effort,
Yep,
right?
yep.
Okay, this is an extraordinary event, right?
I don't know how extraordinary it is. It's unusual if this is the result. That's certainly true. The snow event itself, I can't say that
Well,
was
the slush,
extraordinary.
did you do the snow blowing at your house? I mean, you could not throw that
The
stuff.
slush,
Sure, but I've done that many.
It was concrete coming out of the snow blower.
I've done that many winters in my yard. So that is not an unusual for the New England area. But in any case, I don't want to second guess Peter. He is an honest broker. I'm not suggesting otherwise.
Yeah.
But I do want to address what's in his email, which is concerning to me because it specifically says we are fourth on this list of priorities. And that seems counter to what's in our lease. That's what I'm trying to understand.
Mark, it's been like that ever since I've been at the airport, and ever since I've been the manager. That's the procedure that we do it in. And this was really such an event that's just not been here for years. And
So I want to separate the event and the order of care that's taken to the folks that are on the field. The lease is something we signed fairly recently, and my understanding, I wasn't there during the negotiations, but my understanding was a fair amount of time was spent on that particular paragraph. But what's in your email is not consistent, in my reading at least, with that paragraph.
Well,
That's my concern.
are those 4 stages within the contract? Does it
I'm sorry, are those 4 stages?
Does it say clear runways and taxiways first, clear a path to the business
No,
and the
it
airport?
says just what I read. There's
Oh, no, this is what I do as an FAA grant assured airport.
I'm not referencing any document about FAA grant
Right.
assured airport. I can certainly appreciate runways and taxiways. I'm not debating that. What I'm suggesting is clear parking areas, businesses in the airport, and the fact ramps were at the bottom of that, right, your email. That doesn't seem consistent with this lease. So, I mean, it's just a fairly straightforward question, I think.
How many items are on that list?
4. You've got it, Vinny, it's there in one of your pages. It's the second page back.
So we have a public way, the runways and taxis. We have people that show up every day to operate their business at the airport. We have the parking area for the airport itself, and then the very next thing is the fact group.
Right.
Okay. I don't think it's discriminatory. I mean, I don't know anything about snow removal other than this was definitely a significant event.
Debbie's.
I don't know how it works. Sorry, do I step away? And you step?
All I want to say is, obviously, having been here for a lot of years, I wanted to remind people that with the businesses that have operated, like the people of the flight school, like different people that run charters, in the past, if they had something that they had to get out, we would take exception to the routine that we do in clearing the runways and the taxiways to get individuals out. So we've always been amenable to people that absolutely had to get out. So I appreciate it, and yes, I know we've all worked wonderfully together over all of these years, and I appreciate you bringing this up. But also, having been here since the age of the dinosaurs, I also know that a lot of them snow plowing. And in this extraordinary event where it rained so heavily after it, and then the hard freeze, probably over the course of the last 15 years, I could probably think of a really hard freeze as extraordinary as this, maybe 4 times. We've had 220 when we used to do that froze over so bad we couldn't even run it the rest of the year. And you remember that goes back to Fred. We had maybe 1 or 2 while Scott was here. Extraordinary, and to base everything and everybody all upset over something which hardly ever happens. I think being able to find a quick solution or having some of your tenants give us a call if they absolutely have to get out. We do every effort that we can to get them out.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. And Peter made the offer the exact day after the storm. We talked, and that offer went out to the FAC, I think 3 people or so.
Yeah, we did. We got them out.
So, no, that's all. That's all.
I think the rest of the people understand that you need to wait till we get the stuff plowed away. And unfortunately, this was just an unfortunate event.
It certainly is unfortunate. Again, our position is that it should have been plowed that day, and it shouldn't have resulted in this ice pack.
I mean, he said it was plowed that day. He said they were running the plow there until 7:30 at night.
12 and a half hours.
Yes, they were running the plow that day.
Excuse me, let me be more specific. That the material, the water, the snow should have been removed from that area.
It came
prior
back
to prior to the
constantly.
freezing.
Like, it's a law like of physics. The water goes back downhill. I mean, you push it and it came back. He explained that.
He did.
Okay. I saw plenty of emails about it already. Was this the person's wife wasn't able to use the bathroom or something? Was that this email? Yeah.
That's
this
why
email.
this email is,
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
No, that was
There was
3
something
days
else.
before. Mr.
Okay.
Murphy
That was 3 days
Mr. Murphy came down at 7:15,
Okay.
and I was at work, and the gates only open at 8.
yeah.
And I saw him outside with his wife, And he said, can we use the bathrooms? I said, sure, come on in, but make sure you close it. And they came in, they used the bathrooms, and they went.
Sure.
And we actually made sure that David got in when he came back from his 4 days and missed the snow when he was down in Florida. But we got him into his hangar.
You did an excellent job, Peter, with, like I said, 3 or 4 people that reached out for help, and you provided it.
No, that's true.
Absolutely true.
That's true. But look, let's stop this here. We will try and do better the next time, Mark. That's all I can say.
All right, I appreciate it.
All right? Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. New business, item 2, Convergent Energy.
Yes. If you look in your sheets that I've given you, Convergent Energy is a company that puts in battery packs. And what they do is they lease land from the landowner. They come in and they buy a certain, or lease a certain amount of land. And on that land, they put maybe 5 or 6 large, like, container units, and they've got batteries in them. And they take the low peak electricity at night and store it in those batteries, and then they on-sell it the next day when it's high peak at an increased price, and they make money on it. They've actually come to us and asked if we would be prepared to do that on some of the non-aviation land that's coming up out of the airport master plan. And, you know, it could be good money because they threw some numbers at me, and it could be considerable money. I'm talking maybe $20,000, $30,000 a year. So, and not for too large an area either. So, with your permission, Mr. Chair, I'd like to, if you would like, I would like to invite them to come here and make a presentation to us like they did when they did the solar panel presentation. If you think it's worthwhile, you've got the documents there, have a look at it, and let's have a, you know, make a decision and then discuss it at next month's meeting.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So there would be this potential project alongside the potential project with Peterbilt, so we would be essentially leasing the 10 acres of land to Peterbilt, and then however much space Convergent Energy needs?
It all depends how much land we get out of the airport master plan once that's finalised.
Okay.
So that's what we've got to wait for, really, to see what is non-aviation or non-aeronautical. So, I mean, we had put down there a large corporate hangar, which may not materialise unless we get 4102A and B cleared with the FAA and MassDOT and Devons. And that meeting is this coming Friday at 9 o'clock in the morning. So
I have another question. Are you at all, as the airport manager, concerned about all this land that we're potentially, 10 acres with Peterbilt, we're giving a land potentially to, are we giving away too much? Are we,
in terms of what the airport requires?
Well, are these impulse decisions working with third parties? Are we not looking at a bigger picture by holding on to all these parcels of land? I know they're going to be leasing it, but...
Well, the one area for Peterbilt is, I believe it will be non-aviation, so that's not a concern. The concern maybe is looking at where the corporate hangar could go, which is just a little bit further down. But are we giving it away? No, I don't believe we're giving it away.
Okay.
I think the pricing that they're actually offering, and it's a lease that we decide on how long, like the Peterbilt lease is what we decide.
That's a license agreement.
A license agreement.
Yeah.
Yes. So,
And the area in which these solar panels may be placed is in the landlocked area on the other side of the runway.
it is.
I mean, I suppose if they understand that this would be a bid process in the end, they're welcome to come talk to us.
Right, absolutely.
There's no guarantees in public land.
No, but I mean, the battery storage system that they're talking about, that could actually go in that area where we're waiting for a better price for the solar panels. Because all they need is a connection from that area where they're going to put the battery systems. We've already got the conduits running under the runway. They just connect underneath the runway straight to that unit.
But they need solar panels as well as the battery.
No. They're going to take the unused electricity in an evening when people are sleeping and they don't use the electric, and they're going to buy it at a much reduced price because at the moment it's just there. They're going to store it into their batteries. And then the next day, all timed, they're going to sell that back to the grid at the top price.
I have to unplug my nightlight now. I don't know if this is going to work.
Oh, it'll work.
I mean,
It'll
I'm
work.
welcome to listen. Yeah.
I mean, it's up to you guys. I just thought it might be an opportunity
Is
for
this
us.
replacing or working along with our original groundwork that we were set for the solar panels? We had that designated land that we couldn't use for hangars. We entertained the idea of getting solar panels. We were bringing people in. This is another alternative we're going to look at.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
But there's no grants.
Plan A is not done.
No, there are no grants on this from MassDOT
Right.
or the state. The grants are on the solar farms, but the grants are so low at the moment, they're not worth taking because we don't make any money. So this is a viable alternative, I believe. And maybe, you know, if you guys say yes, then Gail can look at it, see what the substrate's like, where they want to put these, and we go ahead.
Have they done anything else in the area?
I don't know.
No? Okay.
I don't know.
All right. No, I'd like to definitely have them come in and speak to us, make a proposal.
Well, do you want to make a decision today, or do you want to, what do you want to do? Because I can,
I'm welcome to put, I'm in favor of putting them on the agenda.
okay,
That's,
for February.
yeah, if they can make it here by February.
Okay, I'm sure they can.
Yeah.
I'm sure they can.
What are they, 20, 25 minutes?
We'll limit them to that.
Okay.
That would be nice.
Okay, we're done with that subject?
Yes.
Old business, I've been asked to breeze through these.
And we can.
Okay, item A, door for lobby.
Right. Details have been obtained from Owen Silbau at MassDOT because they were the ones that built this unit, because we want to match up exactly the door that we're going to put in to the one that's in front of the main office. We're waiting for them to come back to us with their quotation.
Okay. Item B, R4102A and R4102B restricted airspace at Devon's.
Meeting on Friday at 9 o'clock with the Mayor and Attorney Pusateri, plus the FAA, MassDOT and Devons.
That's wonderful. Item C, tie downs.
We are waiting-
Gail is not coming to that meeting?
Excuse me?
Gail's not there?
Meeting on Friday. Gail's
Meeting
not
on-
attending?
They weren't invited. I mean, I'm sure we can invite them if you like.
Clear your calendar, wise guy, you're going. Right,
He
okay.
can be there, if you can.
It
No,
can,
it's in person.
no, it's a Zoom.
It's Zoom,
It's in
okay.
here. It's
Yeah,
in
it'll
here.
be,
Okay.
it's going to be in this building, but we can do Zoom. That's easy for you.
Yeah,
I'll do that. Okay. Mr. Chair,
Item,
tie downs? We're waiting for the guys from the FBA Coop to come up from Florida so that we can have a meeting, which I would like to be in attendance, please.
all right, you're going to let me know?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Item D, RFP 7 to 9 hangars.
That's been arranged on Wednesday, the 9th of February at 10 o'clock. And that's in the conference room in the main building
Yeah.
with Vinnie, with Attorney Pusateri.
North.
Yes.
North Meeting Room,
Yes, sir.
right, okay.
Item E, hangar 10, new door.
We spoke with the engineering company, Mackenzie Engineering, and we're waiting engineering drawings, stamped engineering drawings, so that we can go ahead with the new door, which we hope to start around about March, April time.
Okay. Item F, door for hangars 2 and 3.
We wait MassDOT.
Item G, crew car.
We are going to remove that from the agenda because the city doesn't like us actually providing a car that's a city car for somebody else to use. So that's off the agenda.
Okay.
We'll have to return it to the city.
All right, goodbye car.
Yes,
That's unfortunate.
yes.
Item H, self-serve fuel, transfer to and from truck. We kind of covered that earlier.
We did, but I have a little bit of an update. Steve
Okay.
McDonald, the engineer for Titan, actually visited us today. We had a discussion, we've come up with a solution, and we've actually involved Todd Fitzsimmons from the tank company that produced that system, and they're going to talk to each other and come up with a cost evaluation for us and give us a quote to do the work.
A collaboration, how about
Yeah,
that?
absolutely.
Wow, all right. Item I, minimum standards.
That's with the commission.
Yes, it is. All the commissions have received it, and they should be forwarding it to, well, they can forward it to myself, or they can forward it to Peter, but we're going to have to take a look at it in a public setting. Please get to that if you haven't already. Thank you. The Pete Store, item J.
Okay.
To be clear, that's Peterbilt's interested in leasing some
That 10 acres.
land
Yeah.
space.
That was undertaken by Debbie. My understanding is that a license agreement was drawn up by Attorney Pusateri and Debbie, and it's gone to Mary Delaney for approval, and I'll just pass it over to Debbie for the latest information.
Very simply, it's just in transit at this point. We have a little bit of tweaking that Mary Delaney came out with. We're waiting on the Massachusetts insurance regulations from Mr. Brooks, and then we should be able to get a copy out to you.
Have we promised them anything yet, or we just proposed?
No.
Nothing.
We put the license together to show to you first.
Yes.
Before we propose anything to them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Financial review
Can I just make a
Anything-
comment there?
on item J?
Yes.
Yes.
Certain parties don't like this long list, but as the airport manager and a mechanical engineer and working in an engineering division for over 40 years, this is the way we did business, because this is an actual action document. So I would like to keep it going. And Mr. Mayor, we only took 6 minutes. 6 minutes for 9 items. So
Yeah, but
how
Gail
does-
takes like an hour.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So how do you feel? Well, I mean, do you want me to take all this out?
No.
We've got all of this covered. This is just an update for the commission. And I thought it was good. We thought it was good to do this.
Keep it in.
Suggestion by Beth was to try to classify the action items under old business so we can rifle through the majority of those items.
Through who requested that?
I don't think I used that term.
Yeah, rifle through.
So 6 minutes? Is that good
Politically
enough?
incorrect or something?
Is that good enough?
That was perfect, Peter.
Commissioner Walsh?
thank you.
Okay.
Bazooka through.
I myself want them on there. I know
Yes.
Commissioner Liberatore wants them on there, and I understand you, Peter. Probably better than the mayor, I suppose, so
Thank you.
let's leave them on.
Thank you.
Financial review, anything we need to really know about at this
No.
time?
No, there's no abatements this month,
Yep,
and the normal commitments have been signed off and sent off. So all the bills have been sent out.
thank you. Executive session, there is not an executive session this evening. Date and time, you get the date, time, I mean?
Yeah?
Yep, it's 7:11.
You motion to adjourn?
Before we make that motion, I just want to wish a fellow Commissioner Walsh a happy birthday. It is her birthday
you very
today,
much.
Oh,
and
happy
she's
birthday.
here.
Happy birthday.
Wow. Gee, how do you know these things?
No cake? Come on, there's always cake.
Happy birthday.
Once again, a motion to adjourn this
I'll make it.
meeting, 7:11.
Motion.
Second.
Vote, yeah.
Yeah, all in favor.
Motion adjourned, 7:11. Next meeting is going to be February 23rd, 2022, 6 PM at the Legislative Building, which is right here. Thank you very much.